Hey gals and guys, it's your host Phil Larson, and this is your motivational high five on productivity. Let's do this. Welcome back to another month and another episode. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. You have heard me talk in the past about Patreon. Patreon is a service, much like Kickstarter, where you can support your favorite content creators. And at certain levels per month, you get rewards as the content consumer. And I've been on Patreon for a while. Sometimes I've had more patrons than others, and then it's fluctuated here and there. And that is totally fine. I want people to always feel free to go. If it's not the right time anymore to keep supporting, that's okay. There's two levels of rewards that I offer. There's a $1 a month level, which isn't much other than a shout out on the podcast, which maybe is enough for you. And then an invite to our private Facebook group. And then the $5 a month level are those things plus direct communication with me and also access to my micro mini podcast called The Inner Voice. There are 24 episodes there of The Inner Voice. They are short, raw recordings on my phone, and I probably have more patrons that do the $5 a month level, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm going to play you just one that I recorded today for our $5 a month level people for The Inner Voice. It's episode number 24, IV24, and it's related to this podcast topic, which is productivity. And I am setting a goal for Patreon. If you want to join in and help me try to hit this goal, that would be incredibly awesome. And it's going to have to do with the number of patrons. If we hit 100 patrons, this podcast, which goes one episode a month, I will knock it up to 2 episodes a month. So I will double its output. And we have a ways to go. We have 13 current patrons. And that's right, 100 patrons, that's either at the $1 or the $5 a month level. But once we hit 100, I'm knocking this up to 2 episodes a month. So if you want to be a patron of the podcast, go to patreon.com/YMH5, use the number 5, patreon.com/YMH5, or just go to phillarson.net/support. And you can see all the ways there to support me in the podcast, phillarson.net/support. So to wet your whistle a little bit, if you will, here is episode 24 of The Inner Voice on productivity. I start out, I'm a little winded because I'm hiking a trail. And I'm using the word progress. And I was looking a little further into that after, because I ended up on the word productivity at the end of this. And so after you hear this recording, I will come back and finish off the episode and talk a little bit more about the difference between productivity and progress as I understand it, and maybe a little more life application here as well. So here we go. I don't know about you, but I get stuck. And when I get stuck, I need to change things up. If I'm stuck, wouldn't that make sense? Like if I'm stuck, you're wanting a change of scenery, you're wanting to move, you're wanting to get unstuck, to pop loose. And today I just was in the office. I was the only one in there. I was just stuck. I just felt stuck. I did like a priority thing that I needed to do to get done today. And then what? Like there's things that I can do, but there's nothing that feels pressing. And so I just felt stuck. So I'm out at a park. I'm in nature. I'm moving. I'm breaking some sweat a little bit. Going up and down some hills. That's why I'm a little out of breath. But I'm moving. This feels like progress. On paper, it doesn't look like progress. But in order to be creative, I mean, what I do every day is somewhat creative. And when it comes down to it, everything can have an aspect of creativity to it. And often when we feel stuck, we feel like monotony, like things are same old. So I needed to get out and move. And I found this really cool log I'm sitting on now. Not moving anymore. catch my breath a little bit, be in the silence, be in nature. Never truly silent because there's cars nearby, but it's good. It feels right. It feels good. And I'm feeling a little more inspired to get back in to the office and do some things, have some ideas. But for now, I just needed to get unstuck. It reminds me of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I sound smart by saying that, but I'm actually not. I'm not, because in one of my, I think, English classes or something, one of my classes in high school, we were split into groups, and each group took one of the 7 habits. And the only habit I remember is the one that I was in the group, our habit, which is, I don't even remember what number it was, but it's called sharpen the saw. And the idea of sharpening the saw is you're hacking away and your saw gets dull. And when you're hacking, it feels like progress. It feels like you're getting something done. At some point when it gets dull, you're definitely not getting done as fast. And at some point you need to put on the brakes completely and sharpen the saw. And it feels like not progress at all when you put on the brakes. You take a break and you sharpen the saw because you don't see any progress. You don't see anything that's happening. You don't see anything getting chopped up. You don't see your progress. But when you get back to chopping things up, you go faster and you make up for the lost time and more. And so it is progress to take a break, or it is progress to get unstuck, to go take a walk, to not always be working, but doing what you need to do to rejuvenate your mind and go someplace else. So get unstuck, change it up. Maybe that's what you need to do today. Go for a walk. I mean, it's the same sort of philosophy of vacations. Vacations don't feel like work. You know, you're taking a break. Sometimes you're losing pay by taking a vacation. But one thing my dad always said is it's vacations are a relational investment. They're worth it to develop memories and to develop things to hang a relationship on. Like, this is something we experience together. And then oftentimes you come back feeling rejuvenated, or you see things differently, or, you know, maybe you came back and you rearranged your family room. Like, you see things, you have new eyes and stuff like that. So do things that don't necessarily in the moment feel like productivity, because often in time, you'll find and be surprised by, yes, they were productive in time. Go for a hike, get unstuck, change it up. Okay, bye. So again, if you liked that, you might like 23 other Inner Voice episodes, and those are actually also coming at about once a month as well. So patreon.com/YMH5 or phillarson.net/support. Again, I really appreciate your help getting to 100 patrons. Let's go. Okay, so progress versus productivity. I think we want to focus on productivity. I think progress, as I understand it, I read some definitions, progress is the result or the byproduct of productivity. So progress is moving forward. Productivity is the ability to do the things that you need to do to move forward. And when we're talking about sharpening the saw, as we talked about, that is an act of productivity. We need to create the ability to actually move forward. Maybe hacking with the saw is the progress or the result of hacking things down, or whatever you need to do, whatever that means to you, hacking things. But productivity is the ability to do that. And so, you know, some people I know don't sleep much because they like to work. They work a lot. They're workaholics. But what they don't realize is that in their waking moments, if they got good sleep, quality sleep, they would do better and be more focused while they work. There's been some studies that have shown that a 4-day work week gets more done. There's more progress than a 5-day work week, because people become rejuvenated over the longer weekend and they're ready to sit down and get things done when they get back to work. And yes, I've found that to be true in my own life. Relationally speaking, kind of like what the example of vacations, Sometimes it doesn't feel like productivity to sit down with your significant other and have it out and have just a heart-to-heart conversation or like get things out on the table. But if you've done that, and if you've done that recently, you'll remember because it's in your recent memory, you feel so much closer. There's a different level of intimacy, and you feel like you are further along. You've kind of sharpened the saw of your relationship, and you can feel more known and that you know the other person better and feel like your relationship's more productive. And that's one I forget very often. I often get stuck. I get stuck in my head. I call it fill land. When I don't let other people in my head, I convince myself that it would be such a burden to other people and to myself to get out of my head to let other people in. But when I do, I know that my relationships are stronger and better for it. I know that my conscience feels clean and clear. Productivity feels like a step back, and sometimes it very well could be, but it's so that you can step forward more confidently and with such more strength and more health that when you do step forward, it lasts. It's a step of power and inspiration and all those beautiful words that come with doing things well and leading other people. So I'm feeling that a little bit right now. My wife and I are doing a creative work. We're embarking on a creative endeavor. In order to do that, you need to do a lot of things and not share about it with a lot of people, or not put it out there yet because it's not ready yet. And so when you're sitting on something that is very exciting and very creative, but it's not ready for the general public yet, it doesn't feel productive. It feels like there's this antsy feeling. I was just telling her, this uneasiness of like, I just want to get it out, but it's not ready. It's not time to get it out and to move forward. And when that time comes, then people see, oh, you were productive. You have been productive, but at the time it doesn't feel or seem that way because the general public doesn't see that. And I say that because it's coming. It's coming, and I'm going to share it with you guys probably next month. The masses, it'll be ready to be seen and to be shown, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting for us, and it's a new creative endeavor that we are embarking on together. At times, it didn't feel productive. It just really didn't. But I know that when I look back, because I've done things like this before, that though you are doing things in secret sometimes, that healthy things in secret, unhealthy things in secret are not productive. But sometimes healthy things, when done in secret, don't feel productive. It doesn't feel productive to go on a hike in the middle of woods with no one but yourself. But when you come out of it with new ideas, or with something that you can see, something that you can touch and hear, and something that's tangible and available to the public, and you feel and you finally see that progress, the true expanse of your productivity is seen, is shown. So if you're in that moment, or if you're going through something a little bit more in more depth, like relationally speaking, than just like putting something out there to sell or whatever, keep going. Like, keep doing the good work. It may be that you are going through some sort of developmental workshop that you don't have any time during the day except from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to do, and no one sees it, and you do it, and everyone in your household is asleep. Been there, done that. It doesn't feel productive. It feels like, oh, I should be sleeping right now. Maybe that would be better. But the amount of growth that you will gain and see through that, it's the productivity that you didn't know was there, that you didn't know what was happening. You didn't know what was happening until hindsight. And my friend, keep going, keep doing the good work of being productive, either on a grand scale or on a micro scale, an individual scale, a character building scale. You're not alone. You're building something, whether others will see it or not. Maybe it's just for you, and maybe it's just for your immediate family. Oftentimes this podcast doesn't feel productive, but when I'm on episode 109, when I see 109 episodes, oh, I've been productive. It sometimes doesn't feel like productive. Sometimes it feels like pulling teeth. I wasn't feeling inspired to do this episode today. Then I went on a walk, and I made that recording the same day. In hindsight, productivity really rears its head, and you go, oh, okay, I've been doing something. I have been doing it. You almost have to convince yourself sometimes. And when I embarked on the podcast, it was for any future kids. Like, am I just speaking to the void? Well, I have kids, and now I have a son. And again, right now he's 2.5, so he doesn't listen to the podcast. He doesn't understand what this is or that things like this exist. But someday he will, and he'll go, oh, he's been productive. In the moment, in the short term, you often don't see your productivity, but in the long term, you do. It'll come. You'll see. So, as we do at the end of every episode, we find a reflection of ourselves in a mirror. This is supported by neuroscience. We can alter the neural pathways within our brain. We can start believing and telling ourselves new stories, more positive stories. We can throw away the negative narratives that have been told to us or that we have told ourselves. You know, have you ever done something where like, well, that's not me, you know, or I'm not a runner. That was mine. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know that one from me. I'm not a runner. And here I am in 2 weeks, I'm going to run my 4th marathon in 4 years, 4th marathon in 4 years. So, what sort of thing do you tell yourself? Oh, I'm not that, or I can't do that. I can't do that. Well, that's not true. That might be someone else's story that you've chosen to believe about yourself. What stories are you going to tell yourself? What narratives are you going to choose to believe? So here we go. Find a reflection of ourselves and we begin to tell us new stories. In this episode, this is the mantra, the story that we are going to tell ourselves. Ready? Today, I choose productivity in the present for the sake of my future. Oftentimes, productivity is not for your current self. It's for your future self. Sometimes it feels like a step back in the now to sharpen the saw. But your future self that has a sharper saw will thank you for it. Keep going. You got this. It starts with you.